Brother Wes, how are you, man? I think you got it now, Wes.
All right, buddy. Yep, I got you now, pal.
How you feeling, man?
I feel fucking great, man. Now that
I'm
I'm
happy.
now that I'm in your arms, you know.
I'm so happy to see your face. I'm gonna squeeze your cheeks.
Right back at you, buddy. How you been?
Life's good, man. I'm feeling good. I love Texas, man. Yeah, everything's going great, dude. Tomorrow, my wife and I will be together 25 years, so I'm really
Wow,
thankful for a lot, dude.
that's fucking crazy.
How are you feeling? Everything
I'm
good?
feeling great, man. How is my? Let me change my microphone to Roadcaster. Is that more
Oh,
rich for you?
yes, that sounds much better.
All right, cool.
Cool.
Yeah, we've just messed with like the audio settings on here and so on. So like, if it cuts out at all, just let me know. It shouldn't, but yeah.
All good, brother. But Wes, thank you for coming on today. So this is my new gratitude show called Grateful Chimps, and I call it Grateful Chimps because I have a tendency to chimp out pretty hard. And one way to kind of mitigate the frequency of me chimping out pretty hard is to just really double down on things that I'm grateful for. And I'm trying to do that more and more. And I feel like the more that I do that, the more that I'm conscious of being grateful for things. And then just seems to be like an endless supply of things for me to be grateful for. And I wanted to talk to you, like, one, because you're somebody that has had a massive impact on my life because, dude, you truly changed my life, man. However many years
Oh, thanks,
ago,
man.
where we met in your basement, and you know, Matt introducing us to you, and Tim coming down there, and just like hearing you facilitating that group where we all got to speak so freely and so honestly about what we wanted out of life, what we wanted to work towards, and what we were willing to do to get it, man, really ended up changing the course of my life. So I have, a debt of gratitude to you that I don't know that I could ever pay back.
Hey, man, I appreciate you say that, but right back at you, right? Like I think that's the benefit of being on a team,
Mhm.
and participating in team type of activities is because it's nothing special about me. It's just the dynamics of a team, and we're so lucky that human beings have evolved with the circuitry to where if you get on the right team, it basically just pulls you forward. Now,
Yes.
the reciprocal works as well, right? Like get on the wrong team and you're going the opposite direction. But yeah, man, right back at you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Dude, I mean, one of the things that really like pulled me into to really just lock in and just, go after, like, really delve deep into, like, figuring out what it is that I wanted out of life was seeing how detailed you were in your day-to-day, not only your day-to-day actions, but like every single activity, that when you show me your worksheet of how detailed you are with literally everything in your life. Can you talk a minute about that, about how that started and about the kind of impact that had on the results that you see in your life today?
Yeah, man. I think Jordan Peterson, I think he's phenomenal in a lot of different ways. One of the ways is, he would say writing is thinking. And I really took that to heart when I learned it years and years ago. And it's so funny because it's one of those things where somebody could say, well, put it this way. Whenever I ask somebody, okay, do you have your goals? Almost 100% of the time, at least the circles that I'm in, they almost 100% of the time they say yes. So then I say, okay, great. Let's see them. Right. And now they start to do like the Irish jig of like, oh, well, it's like, and I got them up here. Right. It's like that is not the same thing. It's just no different than I played basketball my entire life. And I could tell you, I play basketball, and so does LeBron James, right? So there are levels to everything. Goal planning is no different. And if we look at human psychology, and it was a great book by Robert Cialdini called Persuasion that really changed my life. And he talked about that human beings are not active creatures. We are primarily reactive creatures, meaning we are reacting to the environmental stimulus around us. And that was a big light bulb for me. It's like, okay, how can I build my environment to be so suggestive of the outcomes that I'm looking for, where it stacks the cards in my favor? So, as an example, and these are some things that sound so obvious until you actually like examine them. So, as an example, you've never gone to the gym, most likely, and taken a nap, right? But there are plenty of people who have workout equipment in their homes and who choose to not work out because the environment was not really suggestive. I mean, this is so powerful that I like think of pick a guy in your head who graduated from your class in high school,
Hmm.
and but pick the worst of that, right? Like think about the guy in your head that graduated high school and barely put in like any effort relative to the rest of the kids, right?
Hmm.
And then let's put that in the parking lot for a second. If I said, "Hey, Rainey, let's do something for 6 hours a day for the next 18 years." If if you did that, I would think you're the most disciplined human on the face of the planet, right?
Okay.
Yet we all did that in high school, even down to the level of the worst dude that you're thinking in your head.
Mhm.
That's crazy. Like
Mhm.
that is superhuman level discipline. But when we put it in the context of school, because the hierarchy is so strong, the team is so strong, it's like, of course you're going to school. Of
Mhm.
course you are. So I believe that, the common phrase of you are the top five people you hang out with.
Mhm.
I actually think it's, if we upgrade that to, you are the top five teams that you join
Mhm.
because the teams are so much more powerful than individuals.
Mhm. Dude, I think about that a lot. I think about like the you being how important it is like to gravitate towards people like and you being surrounding yourself with like five people and like you being the result of those five people. But I
Mm.
never thought of it in terms of like teams. Um, and I'm trying to think right now like how many different like teams I'm a part of, and that's something that I really want to focus on the rest of the day, man, because I had never heard that specific that mentioned that way before. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've been thinking about the people that I surround myself a lot lately, just because I don't know. I'm doing like an end of the year analysis to really streamline exactly what I want heading into 2026. And I think I've really got it narrowed down to who I want to spend time around that I know currently, but also I'm trying to think of like, all right, who can I reach out to that I could really stand to like not only benefit from that I don't spend a lot of time with now, but then also that I could provide value to them in exchange for them giving me their time.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, can I sort of zoom into some of those topics real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so and let me know if this works. Okay. So this would be the level of detail that I'm referring to. Um, when you say, okay, hey, I want to accomplish something
Mhm.
and I'm going to think through it. How the degree to which I can see your documentation of your goals, in my view, is directly correlated with the probability of you accomplishing those goals.
Mhm.
The human brain and specifically the prefrontal cortex is so good at organizing and predicting like future paths, but we just have to get a way to externalize it. So it's
Mhm.
this constant like dance between limbic system and intellectual system. Um, the bridge there, in my opinion, is documentation. So if you were to say to me, at least I hope, right? It's like, hey, Wes, show me your goals, show me the vision for the company. Okay, great. I can pull the document up immediately
Mhm.
and show you like down to the sub category of how I'm going to accomplish that. Now, to be fair, the critic would say, yeah, but right, what is Mike Tyson's quote, which was phenomenal? It's like everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth.
Yeah.
That sounds really good. But if you take away from that, don't plan, that, in my opinion, is not a good
Mhm.
strategy. So the degree to which you document, in my opinion, is directly correlated with the probability you hit the goal. But then secondly, joining a team, I mean, Rainey, you're already great at this. So like look at what you did in jujitsu.
Mhm.
You know, um, look at what you're doing in the world of comedy. You are getting involved in tribes where you've already, on a premeditated basis, explicitly or implicitly said, I want to accomplish this and I'm going to put myself into these tribes.
Hmm.
And honestly, man, it's so interesting because often what happens is like 90% of that time, you're kind of no longer focused on the championship. Your nervous system is focused on the immediate tribe, right?
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to be late for practice. I
Hmm.
can't be late for practice because, Tim, John, Jake, and Jill are depending on me to get there, right? Because we're going to
Yeah.
be rolling together, et cetera.
Hmm.
Um, oh my gosh, I uh, I have to get to the mothership on time because my time slot is 10 p.m.
Hmm.
These are all things that are invisible, like they're hidden in plain sight, but these are all of these gravitational forces that are pulling you forward. All you have to do is just sign up for the team,
Hmm.
and the rest takes care of itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, how far into, I don't know, your operating system did you adopt this? Has this always been a part of the way that you functioned as an adult, or was it something that, you adopted earlier than adulthood?
Yeah, I got really lucky because my dad left when I was 4 years old, and
Mhm.
my mom was an absolute animal. Like every bit of success I have, I owe to my mother for sure.
Oh,
She
she's the
raised me on
freaking best,
$9 an
man.
hour. Oh yeah, she's an absolute beast. Um,
If I
yeah, I
just
mean
want to
you've met
interrupt you real quick, yeah,
yeah.
just to rave about your mom, like coming to your house to do the goal setting that we did. Like when I met your mom, like one of my by the time she left the room, I remember thinking, if you could create a mom in a lab, that's what you want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's phenomenal. So the best thing that ever could have happened in my life is my dad leaving because I got to number one, see how hard my mom worked to support us. It put me to work at the age of 11, which was amazing. And it also forced me to find answers outside of the household. So literally, I remember getting made fun of when I was a kid because I didn't know how to throw a football. I didn't know how to play sports because I didn't have a dad or a brother to teach me. Um, and that was a blessing. So I'll never forget the day I went into OLPH school, elementary school, and there was a book. Like in the library, sometimes they have like books just like out there displaying them,
Hmm.
and it was something like Joe Montana's, how to throw a football book. It was something crazy
Hmm.
like that. So I read the whole book, and then I remember I threw a spiral, right? Shitty spiral, but I threw a spiral, a
Hmm.
couple weeks later. I was like, oh, okay. I get to learn from Joe Montana,
Hmm.
not a dad who maybe doesn't know how to throw the football that well. So
Hmm.
I just linked that in my head as like, okay, well, I don't have a dad around, but then I get to like kind of choose my mentors along the way. And I just followed that prescription literally ever since. My mom was so good at making people feel felt, and I just took that as like, oh, okay, I can just go and find mentors by being kind and asking politely and then actually doing what they say. And then they want to give me more stuff. They want to guide me more. So I just followed that same thing from baseball to soccer to basketball, then to caddying to selling to getting to Wall Street to building a firm. Like it was all the same fundamentals.
Hmm.
And that's nothing special about me. It's just finding the pattern that works and then rinsing and repeating.
Dude, I love hearing that. That's something that like my wife and I have been talking about a lot is relative to what you just mentioned with like, kind of like using adversity to your advantage and using it, looking at it more of like something that you're grateful for versus something that it's just like you're that like an albatross that's weighing you down, that it's like an eternal punishment for something you didn't have. One of the things that like we've really been talking about is just how we can grow and how we can get better as parents versus what we were provided. And there's a little part of me that I can feel when I'm getting a little bit bitchy about what I didn't get from my parents, but at the same time, it's like not getting those specific things allows that to be at the forefront of my mind when I'm thinking about what I want to do, like both as a parent and also the skills that like I want to be able to teach somebody someday too. So I think that kind of shit can be as valuable, if not more valuable. That's probably more valuable than actually being given something that you're grateful for versus recognizing through the adversity of not having that thing and then saying, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to figure it out. And not only am I going to figure it out, but I'm probably going to find better resources than I would have gotten otherwise.
I mean, look, it's really simple to break down. I think what you're saying is really profound, and it just makes total sense. Do you feel like you act more from pain or pleasure? Not like, okay, here's how I would like to act, but what do you actually take action from? Pain or pleasure?
Pain.
Right? So
Yeah.
why would that stop at parenting? If I
Mhm.
had one wish for parents and for for people who think about having kids, it's like forgive your parents.
Mhm.
Like they're not going to be perfect, but so many people get caught up in the air quotes trauma, which I do think has been kind of hijacked and dramatically overused in recent times. Um, but all of the wealthy people that I know, so for anybody who's like for your listeners, so I work in the wealth management space.
Mhm.
By extension of that, I meet incredibly wealthy people. Almost all of them, right, have come from a place of pain. Oh, I don't want to keep on repeating the thing of the past. And also, they have forgiven their past. Like they've given it an empowering meaning. Okay, great. Dad wasn't around. Why is that great? Because I got to find mentors. Oh my gosh, mom, whatever people have, it's like, yeah, they did the best they could with the resources they had at the time. If you're not making that an empowering meaning, I strongly recommend you do. Do the self work to come down to the nucleus of, okay, what my what am I doing on a day-to-day basis that is purely a result of a decision that my 5-year-old self made?
Mhm.
And is it working? If it's working, then hell yeah, double down on it. If it's not working for you, consider changing that meaning.
Yeah. Dude, there was a time recently, Wes, where I was kind of hesitant to look into it, but once I looked into it, I couldn't believe how much I was doing this. But I checked my screen time on my phone, and I always feel one of the things that I feel like I never have enough of is time to do the shit I want to do. But then when I saw how much time I was spending just staring at my phone, I mean, there are hours in the day where I'm actively working on my phone. However, I can't tell you how many cat videos, how many fight videos, how many videos of Conor McGregor screaming at the friggin' screen that I've watched that have had provided no value to anything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It really made me wonder, like, okay, what is it? How much more time do I have in the day to work towards what I want to work towards? And in seeing that, that allowed me to think, like, all right, man, I really need to lock in on this shit. Can you pinpoint like specific things that you recognized that you might not have been conscious of until like you actively started to delve into it, that were acting to your detriment, that you ended up using to your benefit later on?
Well, so to the point of, let's say, like time wasting.
Mhm.
Again, because I work in the finance space, I see very similar psychological parallels to what you're saying. One way of approaching life financially is budgeting. Guess how many people are pumped to hear the word budget, right? Like when I bring up like, hey, let's talk about budgeting, they're like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
let's fucking talk about budgeting today.
Mhm.
But if we flip it, if we invert it, and we say, okay, well, what if we talk about a reverse budget? So sounds to me, and I say this as a friend that loves you, right? It sounds to me like maybe there's a chance you're beating yourself up on how much time I'm spending on my phone on nonsense. I would urge you to consider reversing that and saying, okay, well, rather than looking about how many turnovers I had, why don't we look at points on the board? So it's like, okay, let's say you map out your goals, which by the way, I totally think we should do another goal planning session if you're down for
I
it.
would love that.
Okay, let, here's the crazy thing. To accomplish massive amounts of things, it actually doesn't take that long throughout the day.
Mhm.
I mean, think about it. If you had physical goals,
Mhm.
monetary goals, business goals, etc. Probably 2 to 6 hours of focused energy in a day
Dude.
would 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 get you there plus way more.
Mhm.
So the reality is, okay, if I focus, let's split the difference. If I focus for 4 hours a day,
Mhm.
you could mess around theoretically the
Mhm.
rest of the hours a day and still probably be way further along than you anticipated.
You're 100%
So,
right.
but if we're looking at the negative side of the ledger,
Mhm.
we might say, oh my gosh, well, I was on my phone for X amount of time and I just twiddled my thumbs for X amount of hours. Yeah, but did you get the 4 hours done? The 4 hours is all that matters. If you look at building muscle, all you have to do is go to the gym between
Mhm.
30 minutes and let's say an hour,
Mhm.
5 days a week.
Mhm.
That's a rounding error in terms of how many hours there are in a week.
Hmm.
But you have Olympic bodybuilders who do just that.
Hmm.
So I think if we reverse how we think about it, rather than looking at what I've thrown away, let's look at what we've put on the board because
Yeah.
those are the things that matter the most. What you've thrown away, who cares? Like, yeah, you could always get more efficient, but it's not an efficiency game out of the gate. It's an effectiveness game.
Yeah, that's the best way to look at that shit, man. And to that point, yesterday I clocked it. I sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I clocked it. Like I'm writing my next book now, which is about basically detailing everything that I went through in addiction, whether it's with a combination of alcohol, cocaine, and painkillers, everything that I went through there, in addition, and more importantly, everything that I used that kind of helped dig me out of that hole and get me to the point where I am today. And yesterday, I clocked how long it took me to accomplish what I wanted to write. And dude, in 2 hours and 15 minutes, I was able to write 3,000 words,
Mhm.
which I mean, it surpassed like what, more importantly, I wanted to get done two specific sections of the book. And that was the most important objective. But when I looked at the time and I also looked at how much I was able to get accomplished, it was like the rest of the day, it was like, I don't know, I could have, I could have sat around and just farted on the couch the entire day. But because
Yep.
I got that done and I didn't, I wasn't like putzing around being, oh, what do I have to do? Like, because I was streamlined, I was very deliberate about what I wanted to get done in the day. In those 2 hours and 15 minutes that I got that shit done. And if nothing else happened the rest of the day, and no, I'm still thinking about because at the amount of time it took me to get that done, like I'm still thinking about it 24 hours later that I was able to get done so much in that condensed amount of time.
So funny you're saying this because I was literally telling a peer of mine 2 days ago about the power of a 2 hour time block.
Mhm.
Like, um, you and I talked years ago about ITPAR, which we can always double click into if you want. Um, but setting the timer for 2 hours, and I have a sequence in which I do it. So I go and I use the restroom if I need to. I make my tea. I close my door, put everything else out, and then set the timer. And oh, by the way, I make a list before the timer starts. That way, I just go into autopilot, just go down the list as I check the things off. But the heuristic is do not get out of the seat for 2 hours unless I've got to use the restroom, but then you have to pause the timer. And then when you come back, only work on that list. Everything else is out. And what you're saying, Rainey, is spot on. It's unbelievable how much you can accomplish inside of 2 hours. If you can't do the 2 hours, do an hour. It's the the asymmetry is the important note. How asymmetrical it is to what you can accomplish in such a small period of time. And ideally, I don't know about you, Rainey, I would love to get your perspective. Front loading that so that way your entire day feels like a success versus if you backload it and say, oh, I'll do
Yeah.
my 2 hour time block
Mhm.
right, at 8 p.m. tonight.
Mhm.
Well, there's for me at least, there's like a certain level of anxiety, right? Oh, I
Mhm.
haven't
Oh,
accomplished
dude,
anything. I'd
it's
rather just get it done. Get your ass
yep.
up, put your 2 hour time block on, and then you will like by 8 a.m., 9 a.m., whatever, you've accomplished. I guarantee you've accomplished more in 2 hours than you probably would have, bro. I don't know, maybe a week.
Mhm.
That's the power of focus. What do they say? It, I forget what it was. Like a 300-watt light bulb can light up the room, but a 300-watt laser can cut through steel. It's like the
Mhm.
power of focused intentional energy.
Dude, I agree with you 100% on that, man. There's every day, like I wake up, like there's four things on my list for today that I wanted to get done. These things were non-negotiable. These things were the most important things that I needed to get done. And then at that point, like I feel like I can kind of cruise for the rest of the day. Although, you know, with the social media thing, like I was still like, that still kind of bugged me a bit. But with that said, when I wake up, I would say like I get up around 7. The second I get up, I know that I'm most productive in the mornings and I have the most energy. As soon as I'm out of bed, I'm ready to get something done. So I go right to the kitchen, I turn the coffee on, and I come in here and I sit down and I start working because I know that whatever I'm able to get done today is likely going to come between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. And in doing that, it's the rest of the day is it's kind of it's going to come and go. I can take whatever comes my way. It's I don't have something on the back burner that I got to kind of keep thinking like, all right, shit, I hope I have an hour for this later because I know if I can knock that out as soon as I wake up, I'm good. And
Mm.
even on like on a subconscious level, I think I'm able to be more present with the things that I either want to do or have to do later on in the day because I was intentional in what I wanted to get done as soon as I was awake and I was ready to go.
Can I say something because I don't want it to go unspoken?
Yeah.
I don't want to leave this without saying this. Dude, like brother to brother, how I'm super impressed with what you've been able to accomplish in a relatively short period of time. And because we grew up in basically the same neighborhood,
Hmm.
I can empathize with how hard it is to escape from that stickiness, which I'm not saying it's like our neighborhood was phenomenal, like for
Hmm.
so many reasons.
Hmm.
And at the same time, it's like if you see a bigger vision
Hmm.
for yourself, if you see a vision that says, well, maybe if I don't watch football on Friday night, Saturday all day, and then Sunday all day, right? And I don't drink beer every single day, again, that's not an insult. It's
Hmm.
just a different usage of time. I know from experience how hard that is.
Hmm.
So, dude, you're crazy impressive, and you had the guts to, in my opinion, to change your family tree. It's something I think about often. You had the guts to change your family tree by working your ass off in a space that's not normal. Do you know what I mean? I'd
Yeah.
imagine that it's like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do stand-up comedy, everybody. Like, I got this.
Hmm.
The shit, like, our family tree is in good hands. I'm gonna get on a microphone and tell some jokes. I got you guys.
Hmm.
How much friction you probably had to go against for years,
Hmm.
right? And fight your own demons and all that stuff. And then your friend saying, like, bro, why are you doing that stuff? Like, oh, you want to move away? You want to go to Austin? Like, why are you doing that?
Hmm.
Like, all of these things that are trying to pull you back. That
Yeah.
gravitational pull is so strong, but you fought it. You broke through the
Hmm.
membrane. And there's going to be more membranes for both of us, for all of us to keep breaking through. So you
Hmm.
got it. I hope you're giving yourself the credit that you deserve.
Wes, I really appreciate that, brother. It really means a lot to me, man. And I feel like I am. Um, a part of why I'm able to do that is being decisive and coming here to Texas. Like initially, dude, I would say 2 years ago when I saw, a bunch of my friends coming down here to Austin, I was the kind of people that I wanted to get away from in the sense that I was saying, oh, that's lame that they're all following Shane.
Hmm.
And then I came here and it was like, all right, this seems like a pretty good environment to do what I want to do. And then the more I looked into it, it was like, all right, I think this would be ideal. Then as soon as my family was on board, I was like, all right, we're going to go. And then at that point, it became much easier to turn out the noise, specifically because I knew exactly what I wanted, and I just zeroed in on that. And to me, that's kind of like the mode with everything I want to do.
Hmm.
And no matter what pops into my mind, I'm going to do it. I feel like I've kind of shed that little annoying voice that used to be much louder than it is now. I rarely hear it now, but even a couple years ago, anything that I thought of doing, I would have the initial burst of just like, oh, that would be really fun to do. And then a short time later, it'd be like, well, what about what this person would think? What about what that person would think? And it's like the reality is like, what meaning do those, in some cases, imaginary people have in my life? And then I realized,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
the all this really boils down to, and I think this is something that I'm 47 now, so I think this also gets easier with age, is that if it doesn't involve, if it doesn't benefit someone in my household, then I just don't really have time for it. And if it's not
100%.
somebody in this household or the very few people I can count on one hand, the amount of people that I would drop everything for outside of this household.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't involve one of those people, it's just like I just don't have the bandwidth for it. So
Yeah.
now it's like, I'm just really zeroed in on just everything that I want to accomplish, both, you know, professionally, financially, socially, just, I just want to create like a richness to my life that, whereas, before, I really, wasn't really like a richness based like mentality. It was just more of just, kind of blowing in the wind. And I think that's a real benefit that having a really clear outline of what you want out of life comes into play because without it, I don't know. I could think back to, you know, 20 years ago. like I remember like walking around my apartment complex, and really the only thing that I really fantasized about and really had aspirations for was the Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah.
Which God bless that
One
guy,
day we'll
man. Yeah.
make it, man. Yeah, yeah.
But Wes, I mean, that was really like my only big goal was for to see the friggin' Eagles win the Super Bowl. And it
Mhm.
was nothing relative to like, the thought of just really delving into what I wanted to accomplish, was really it just wasn't registering in part because, I was putting myself in environments where people all thought that same way. And there was, you just worked and then you went home and you watched sports. And that's what my life was, and I just feel extremely grateful that I've gotten to a point where I don't know, I changed the channel, and now there's more of just there's more focus. There's insanely much more intent with everything that I'm doing, and I am grateful for everything I have, but more importantly, it's like I have gotten pretty good at just giving myself credit for what I have accomplished because man, especially this year was not fucking easy, man. Like both of my parents died in February,
Oh, I'm
and
so sorry, dude.
thank you, dude.
Yeah.
And leading up to that, both of them were very, they were compromised physically for a while, and there was a lot of family dysfunction. And then, we had already made the decision that we were going to move across the country, so we did that. I felt fortunate that I had so many things on my plate that I always had time to. I always had things to occupy my mind. Where now,
Mhm.
at the end of the year, I feel like I'm finally able to just relax a little bit. I don't go back out on the road until maybe a month from now, so I can just kind of get my ducks in a row at home. And not until the past couple of weeks have I felt like it's really started to hit me, both for good and bad ways. But I've really started to settle in, everything that went into to my life this year, and just accomplishing everything that I accomplished in spite of just dealing with both parents dying, family dysfunction, making sure my family squared away, getting down here to Texas. Like, it was an insane amount of fucking work to make all that shit happen. And in some cases, like I felt that, I didn't accomplish what I set out to accomplish, but by and large, man, I really got a lot of shit done. And not only shit done, but it was like really, you know, kind of changed the direction of my life. And I had a lot of help. My wife was my partner and everything, and the kids were on board with everything I was doing. And I have some really good friends surrounding me. But at the same time, like I do give myself credit for what I've been able to do this year.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, the way that I look at life is playing your role on a
Mhm.
basketball team. You know, Kobe had to be Kobe, Shaq had to be Shaq, et cetera, and go on down the list. If we, as leaders of our families, of our businesses, et cetera, look at, hey, we have an obligation to the team, right? I'm just going to play my role to the best of my possibility and respect everybody else's roles. Like, how could you not win? I mean, my question to you, Rennie, would be, you know, what's the vision look like for you? Like
Well,
like fast forward at the end of let's say 2026, we fast forward at like
mhm,
peak, like 5 year, whatever that number is for you, 5, 10 years out.
mhm.
What does that look like for you, if you don't mind me asking?
Dude, a big part of that is just creating more experiences with my wife.
Mm.
So, dude, we've been through the ringer together, man. And now that the kids are older and they're self-sufficient, there's much more time for us to essentially do what we want. So, most days, like most free time that we have, like we're walking around the neighborhood, we're going out to lunch, we're going out to dinner, we're getting coffee together, and we've been together for 25 years. I'm like, I'm crazier about my wife now than I was like when I first met her, and I loved her the second I saw her. So for me, that's at the forefront of what I want to accomplish in the short term and long term. So
Awesome.
right now, like it's like okay, I want her to have all these experiences with me because I got a lot of road dates coming up in 2026. Like I want her to come with me as often as possible. Um, I want to. We didn't do a vacation this year just because we moved. So it's like, all right, I want a vacation for the coming year. On top of
Mm.
that, too, setting up a new LLC. I'm doing that next month. So that's a big thing that I want to work toward. I got my new book coming out in I think February 1st is the tentative date for that. So
Hell yeah.
right now I would say those are the bigger things. And I'm constantly adding stuff to it. And like right now, like we just started going back to the gym together, and we started like carving out time each day as a non-negotiable. Whereas historically, like I know it's like there's periods where I'm really disciplined about it, but then there's other periods where, I don't go often at all. But getting older, I start to feel the effects of just sitting in a chair for long stretches of the time during the day, where I have to prioritize that more, and I have been doing that recently. So you know, building that into my daily schedule. So I would say if I had to narrow it down to a couple things, I would say creating more experiences with my wife, prioritizing health more, and then also, I have a lot of different financial goals that are really just, much closer than I ever anticipated they would be at this stage in my life. And I'm excited about that, but also like that really, I want to just keep pushing harder than I've ever pushed before, because I realize like I always have new gears. Like just when I think that like, all right, can I accomplish this? And then you get to that, you're like, oh fuck, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would.
Yep.
And oftentimes it's about like realizing that you had gears that you didn't realize you had before accomplishing that thing. So, I want to set goals too, like where it's, I haven't really set outlandish goals yet. And that's like the next phase of what I think I'm going to do, because not that I'm playing it safe, but also it's like I want to set some goals where it's just like this seems insane. And, if I can look back on certain things that I've accomplished where it's just like that was insane. So if I can do that shit, why can't I do that?
100%. Yeah, I mean, if you can be pulled towards the vision,
Mhm,
but the only way of doing that is to make it like so overwhelmingly compelling
mhm,
that it can't help but suck you in. So as an example, right, like, and you've already done this, man. Again, I'm so impressed with your progress. Look at what you've done holistically, right? Stand-up comedy world, moving your family, jujitsu, competing, etc. I really do believe that we are just limited by our vision. And I know that sounds like rah rah Tony Robbins stuff.
it's not, no.
Like that's not me. Um, it's the brain is so powerful, and honestly, bro, like activity compounded is so powerful. It's hard to even describe. I
Mhm,
mean, look at the exponent that you've been working on. Like your exponential curve has been phenomenal.
mhm.
Think about what you said finances. Just think about what you're making now. And if I would have said, hey, Rainey, 5, 7, 8 years ago, right? Would you have bet that where you are financially now, back then, right?
No,
Would you have bet you would have made that much progress?
zero chance, dude. Like I think when we first met, however many years ago that was, I was still working full time. And at my full time job, I was making $29,000 a year. And I had been making that for so long, Wes, that I was just convinced that that was what I was going to make. It
Mhm.
was just, I worked really hard to make that amount of money. And it was a really, I felt good about the work I did. But at the same time, that amount of money, I felt like I was going insane trying to make that work constantly for a family of five.
Yeah.
and and I had made that specific amount of money for so long that it dulled my, I don't know, it dulled my imagination. And I was just
Hmm.
like, it wasn't even about dreaming, because it's like I equated dreaming with getting your feelings crushed.
Yeah.
And activity compounding is what ended up changing that shit, because it was one thing after another. It was like, all right, if I try this, what if I do this? And then when I finally, things really changed for me, and my outlook changed too when I put out my book On Perks, because there were so many people that supported me, and 99% of them were people that I had never met or had never known of before.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the things that needs to be taken into account when you're trying something new and you really want to step out on a limb, is you would be stunned at the amount of people that are going to support you that you're not even aware of yet. I think if you have an idea or you have something that people interpret as genuine and as heartfelt, I think you're going to be stunned at how people gravitate towards that, because I think especially now, there's a real thirst for that kind of stuff, because you got to there's so much slop available from like a content perspective, that if you create something that has meaning behind it, and that shows, you know real like human struggle, I think people gravitate towards that kind of stuff. But having that and putting that book out really changed things for me in a lot of different ways, both financially, but then also from an imagination perspective. Like there's nothing that I feel like I can't do. I feel the two words that really stand out to me all the time, and I think of them often, are the words "be delusional." Like
Mm.
being delusional in regards to like what I once thought was possible. There's literally nothing that I don't think I could accomplish now if I sat down and itemized everything that I've checked off my list, in the past 5 years alone. So there's literally nothing that I don't think I can do.
Yeah, and that's outstanding. I mean, remember when we talked years ago, you, me, Tim, and Matt, and the framework that I said, at least that I use, is ITPAR. So ITPAR:
Mm-hmm.
imagine, think, plan, act, reflect, and repeat. Um, the imagination phase, in my view, is the most important by far,
Mm-hmm.
and that is supposed to be unlimited. The reason we call it imagination is you're not allowed to bring in obstacles. Like, oh, I want to do that, but, right?
Yes.
I want to do that, but. No, no, right? Because a lot of those buts, they're just made up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if like this is so funny because you said something earlier that I can totally resonate with. I found that a certain percentage of my lack of progress towards what I wanted, right? A measurable percentage was because my subconscious was worried about this girl in high school that I was like barely friends with, not attracted to or anything like that.
Dude, I
Literally,
can
I don't even
relate.
know. I still
Yep.
can't understand why my
Mm-hmm.
subconscious was being held back by this girl. Her name was Ashley. And I like examined it. I just kept on asking myself why, like, oh, why am I not doing that? Why am I not doing that? Why? And eventually it's like, well, because Ashley might see my Instagram and say, like, what is he doing? And I'm like, what? Like, that was crazy. Like, the amount of
Yeah.
output that I was holding back
Mm-hmm.
because of that was
Mm-hmm.
insane. And it wasn't Instagram, it was whatever back in the day. Like, oh, if she stumbles on something that I'm doing, she might say, well, that's super dumb. Like, that
Mm-hmm.
was the language in my subconscious. That's what's holding me back. That's what's holding me back from changing my family tree. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. So that's where it's like, just imagine without the Ashleys in the way,
Mm-hmm.
and then just have the balls to jot that down, right? And then have the guts to tell people,
Yeah.
right? And you don't have to be like flamboyant about it or like, yep, like that's my building right there. Like, I have an attitude of gratitude, man. Like all that,
Mm-hmm.
like that's bring whatever energy feels appropriate for you, but still plus, like, let's say plus 20% of where you currently are, because you need to grow into the next space. But you don't have to be so exaggerated where it makes you feel icky or schemy or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but just operate from a place of imagination first without the limitations.
Dude, I love that, man, because truly everything, anything that I could think of, all these things are popping into my mind right now in regards to things that I'm proud of that I've accomplished in the past, especially in the past few years. Everything started with just an idea, and I've become very decisive when an idea excites me. I know I have to do something about it now. Whereas before, yeah, my own personal Ashleys would get in the way, and I would be like, there's no, I'm not going to do that. But now
Mhm.
I'm hard pressed to think of anything, an idea for something that I wanted to do that I haven't acted on. Especially this year, like I feel happy. I feel happy. Like I feel genuinely happy since I've been down here. And I think getting away from Delco was extremely healthy for me. And I think
Mhm.
having that kind of freedom and just feeling like I'm in a very fertile creative environment right now has really freed me up. And there are so many different ideas that I've had for, different books, different podcasts, just, different things that I wanted to create. And I've taken some kind of action on just about all of them. And
Mhm.
this podcast was one of them because Wes, I truly, I feel so grateful for so many different things that there's times where I feel like I'm bursting at the fucking seams because
Mhm.
I cannot believe how much good I have in my life. It doesn't mean there's not bad shit happening constantly. It's like I can't do anything. Like if something pops up, like right now I'm having an issue with my car. It's like it's whatever. I can't fuck. I can only take it to the mechanic, and then at that point, it is what it is. But it's not
Mhm.
going to stop me from truly being grateful for all this other good shit that's happening in my life right now.
Completely agree with you, man. I think there's a triangle that I work through every day, like in my head. Um, Call it energy, philosophy, strategy, tactics, like that. And at the bottom of it is energy. Um, you don't have to know anything. Like you don't have to have any hard skills to make a decision on energy. Gratitude is one of the pieces of that core, right? When all you have to do, and I know I'm not teaching you anything, to change your mindset, all you have to do is give me an honestly one piece of gratitude nuggets that you could think of in 15 seconds, right? And all of a sudden you have an energy shift. This is why, like the classic, when your parents tell you, it's like, oh, well, you should clear your plate because kids in Ethiopia, right, don't have the luxury of food. Like that's an example, right?
Mhm.
Of oh my gosh, I was born in America. It's a 4% probability. I could have just as easily been born somewhere else where I would not have been given anywhere close to this level of opportunity. I was born. I'm able to move to Austin, Texas. My family is looking up to me. I have limbs. Like there's infinite numbers of things that we could be grateful for. But it's like anything else. It's a practice, right? You actually have to do the exercise. And
Yeah,
if you don't, then sure, then you're not going to get the results.
absolutely, dude. And I keep thinking about like you talking about compounding action because I think everything starts with this, and then after that, it's like talking about it, and then taking action, and then compounding that action. And I've been thinking a lot about just so many different aspects of addiction to my issues with alcohol, with cocaine, and fucking painkillers. Because I'm in the midst of this book now, and it would I mentioned to my wife last night. It would be incomprehensible for me right now to go down to a bar and set up shop in a bar for 6 hours a night.
Hmm.
Whereas 10 years ago, it's like that's all I wanted to do. And I did it constantly. And a big part of that is not because, it's not because I'm, at war with my own, willpower wanting to go there, but it's because like of all these different actions that I took to create all these different like new behaviors and all these different things which have meaning for me now. Whereas like that kind of stuff, it's like that's so far off the course of what I want to accomplish right now that it's not even a decision for me. That's just
Yeah.
not something I do anymore because I've made a decision to work towards all these things which bring me gratification and have provided things for me, whereas that never did.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're nailing on a super important topic, which is like humans are relative creatures. We're always relating things to other things. If we don't put a flag in the ground and say, that's where we want to go, then you're going to go all over the map,
Hmm.
especially as knucklehead men like you and I, right? Like, do you know what I could do
Hmm.
inside of a 24-hour period if I didn't have direction? I could ruin my entire life. Like that is certainly within my capability,
Yeah.
you know, so if we're not playing a game,
Uh-huh.
then we're going to have no direction.
Hmm.
I believe that life is about you get to pick, in my view, right? You get to pick the top 5 games that you want to play. So imagine you had a big kitchen table, and it only has space for 5 game boards, right? It can't just be one game board because then sure, you might become Michael Phelps, but then you also might get depressed after you win the Olympics because like you only unidimensionally focused on that one thing. No disrespect towards Michael Phelps, but we've seen what happens when somebody's not after holistic success. So if we have a big dining room table and we put our 5 game boards on there, that should give us sufficient satisfaction in um, diversity of activity, right? It also should give us sufficient satisfaction in intensity, right? If we're playing 100 games, our intensity and energy gets diluted, right? And you never get to really see any real progress because you're playing 100 games. But if we just stick to the 5 games that we're most passionate about, family, fitness, right? Whatever those are for you, you could play those for the rest of your life because there's so many levels to each one of those games. And then you get the benefit of like somebody coming up to you and be like, man, like, how do you do that? Hey, man, I'm from Delco too. It seems like I'm the younger version of you. Um, but you inspired me, man, because I grew up in Prospect Park too, And all my buddies are telling me I can't do this, or they laugh at me, not maliciously. That's just out of their own right, habituated nature. But Rainey, I look up to you because man, like you made it out. How awesome is that compliment? And then 5 years later, there's more of those compliments, right? Oh, Rainey has a six pack now. How the hell does he have a six pack? And he's killing it in comedy, and he's writing books. Like, how is he doing that? And the real secret is like I'm just focusing on the five games that are most important. It's actually addition through subtraction. I'm just removing the things that are distractions from those five games. And
Dude.
by the way, again, I'm only focusing 4 hours a day on it, right? Or whatever the number is. It's not 24
Mhm.
hours a day. I know grind culture sounds really good, but oftentimes I think it's inflated,
Mhm.
right? You do not have to be working for 24/7. In fact, I would not recommend it. Play the games that are most important to you and just at their exclusivity. Exclusively focus on those five games, discard the rest.
Oh, dude, like I could not agree more, specifically in regards to just I don't know the grindcore thing, where it's just you're convinced that like you have to just constantly be moving, and I think it's very easy to confuse movement for progress. Whereas like you're just
Yep.
spinning your wheels so much of the time when you adopt that kind of mindset. But dude, I agree with you. Like there's so much that can be accomplished in such a short amount of time when you just limit distractions and just focus on a couple very specific things, a couple of very specific areas where you just want to improve your life in, man. And I don't know, man. I just feel grateful that it's a combination of feeling grateful that I found my things, but then also giving myself credit for putting in the work to find those specific things. Because, it's both. I feel like the luckiest guy on the planet, and I also put in a ton of work to become the luckiest guy on the fucking planet.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. And that's why I think you are such an inspiration because when I was growing up, like, when we got eviction notices and all this kind of stuff, well, I was a kid and I was 11 and the only source of motivation kind of came from like the infomercially type of like motivational speakers. And that's a big turnoff for a lot of people. And by the way, including myself, but that was the only option at the time. Well, now because of the internet, we now get to see different characters like yourself. Like, hey, dude, I'm not a big rah rah guy, but here I can make it. I can move my family out to Austin, Texas. I can do all of this stuff, right? And it's still within my identity. So why can't you? So somebody who might not gravitate towards the big rah rah guys, could gravitate totally towards you. And I mean, think about how many people you're producing value for, and you kind of implied this earlier. How many people you're producing value for that you've never met before, that are probably sending you weekly, if not daily DMs, right? And so many different signs that like, oh man, I'm producing a ton of value for a whole bunch of people. Like, how crazy is this? I'm gonna keep on going. So you can get addicted to that.
And dude, I definitely feel that. I just want to be of service to people.
Yep.
I really felt like that in the work that I used to do. I used to work with kids with autism, and for a long time, I really felt when I was done work for the day, I really felt satisfied that I was really doing something of value. I
Hmm.
know it's just the amount of money that you make for doing that line of work is criminal because you're just paid nothing.
Yeah.
So there's times where like I feel a little bit of guilt for being able. I have fun all day long. I'm doing this most of the day with people that I really like, and there are times where, and I know better than to think it's not justified, but there's times where I'm just like, man, I can't believe I get to have fun for a living, and there's like a tinge of guilt, but then the realization sets in where it's just like I know that I can provide value to every person that is listening to this, whether it's through making somebody laugh or just making life easier for somebody else. If it helps get you through a work day, then it's worthwhile. And more than anything else, like with every struggle that I've talked about, whether it's through addiction, depression, poverty, there's value in that
Hmm.
because I am no longer in the midst of all of those things. And it wasn't through some massive stroke of luck. It's like, no, people were very generous with their time with me. People were very patient when I spoke with people who embodied all the things that I wanted. And I took a lot of advice. I watched a lot of people. I read a lot. There were so many different factors that went into, climbing out of each respective hole that I want to pay that forward. If anybody that listens to me or is aware of me is in one of those holes right now, and if they're looking for ways out, if any of those experiences that I had can help them get out of those fucking holes, that's the value that I want to provide for people.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do want to say something if that's okay about Delco.
Mhm.
Um, I absolutely love my roots in Delco, 100%. So I never want any of this to get airtime of like, oh, Wes and Rainey are shitting on Delco. That is not the case at all. Dude, it's amazing the feeling that I get when I go back home and how I might not have seen some of my friends in years,
Mhm.
but we pick right back up where we started off, right? Or where we left from. There's a sense of family and community there. And even, I mean, Delco's infamous, right, for busting each other's chops,
Mhm.
right? I remember unfortunately, one of my business partners died a few years ago, but
Sorry.
he was older. Yeah, I appreciate that. We went back to the Poconos, right?
Mhm.
And he was older. He was in his 70s at the time. And we go and meet up with a bunch of his buddies. And it was a cool experience for me because it was all of my buddies. Like I could
Mhm.
see in them. And these dudes are in their 70s. And my partner, Dave, wore flip-flops. Delco, at least at the time, in 75-year-old dudes, Delco dudes, not cool with flip-flops. To the point where they're trying to talk, he's trying to talk to them, and they're like, are those flip-flops? Like, what do you have on your feet right now? He's like, it's summer. What are you talking about? They're like, yeah, whatever, flip-flops. And for the rest of the week, he was called flip-flops. There's something super awesome about that. Like at the same time, it's like illustrative of perhaps some limiting beliefs, right? Like, or hey, if you do things that are slightly outside of the box,
Mhm.
just the footwear that you have on, right? The tribe is going to make you know about it. So it's that delicate balance of, I mean, back in Philadelphia, it's like if you're not making fun of each other, then you're just not important to each other, right? The fact that I can make fun of you and the same is true in the reverse means we are so comfortable with one another that we can bust each other's chops and there's no love lost. In fact, I now feel that if somebody doesn't make fun of me and I can't make fun of them in return, I'm not that close with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, but the trick is, how do you keep that in proper harmony with growing into the future?
Mhm.
So again, I want to give a lot of love to Delco. I absolutely love it. Like I have so much family and friends
Mhm.
that are family back there. If I just had one wish for some of my buddies back there, it's like, dude, I know that you're thinking about creating a bigger life. Please just do that.
Mhm.
Like just do that. Just go on that journey. You could always revert,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Try it for 6 months. You could always go back to the former life, right? But just try it and see how it works out for you and your family.
Dude, I'm with you. And relative to ball busting, West, I just want to let you know that your shirt and your vest makes you look like a turd from space. So,
Dude, the cashmere sweater and the vest, man. Yeah, that's a trigger for Delco for sure. If I
dude,
came back like with old money aesthetic, they'd be like, "What? Who are you? Flip-flops?" You know?
I view it. I'm with you, man. Like there was like when I first came out here, I was like, "Fuck that! I never want to go back to Philly again. Fuck that place." But and the first time I went back, because I do have to go back every other month to record a couple podcasts. The first time I went back, I was like, I cannot fucking wait to get back to my family in Texas. But those feelings definitely softened by the second time I had to go back because I started to
Mm,
miss people more. I started to have more of an appreciation for just, people, places, and things that I no longer had unlimited access to.
mhm.
And now I view it as kind of like it's like boot camp. And it's like, I've been to boot camp. I went to Paris Island, and it's like at the time I fucking hated it. I could not wait to fucking leave. But what a formative experience it was, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. And that's how I view Delco now, where it's always going to be a love-hate relationship, but at the same time, there is a gratitude for it that I would not have wanted to grow up anywhere else.
100%. I heard a story recently. So unfortunately, one of my best friend passed away a couple years ago.
I'm sorry.
Um, yeah, because if you go off on that lifestyle, right, like too much on the opposite side of the spectrum, you know, it's a bad deal. Like I actually just saw a post from one of my other buddies, and we're in our late 30s, and he's like the four people I'm with in this picture are all dead, right, from addiction, etc. But anyway, one of the stories that was told at the funeral, like at the luncheon after, was these guys cut us off, and we all get out of the car, right? And these bigger guys get out of the car that cut us off, and even the smaller guys from Delco are like up like an Irish leprechaun, like just ready, like they're just ready to go. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna get murdered now, but I'd rather die
Die on
with
your
honor.
shield. Yeah.
Like 100%. And like to the point where my uncle got in a fight, and out here in California, that's crazy to even say. It's like, what do you mean? Your uncle, like the dude older than you, got in a fight, you know, like last Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, yeah, like my grandmom told me the story. Like, wait a second. So your grandmom was telling you the story, and my grandmom's just telling me the story, right?
Uh-huh.
Like casually. Okay, your uncle got in a fight. Like, the guy threw him over the car because my uncle's super small. He's like, but he got back up and, he did good. Like that, like that was the tone, right? From my grandmother, like, and just rolling off the tongue
Uh-huh.
like this is normal. If I
Yeah.
said that out here in California,
Uh-huh.
they'd be like, call the authorities immediately, immediately. So, but there's a sense of grit there because now, right, like, what is somebody going to do to me in a boardroom?
Hmm.
Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's there's no intimidation
Hmm.
that's ever going to happen to you or I would argue like any men raised
Hmm.
in Delco. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna
Yeah.
call me a name?
Hmm.
You think that's gonna, how many names I've been called by my best friends since
Hmm.
I was 0 years old,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm pretty much inoculated from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you, man. I would have not want to have been raised anywhere else, like absolutely anywhere else. It forms a thick outer crust on you that is impossible to synthetically manufacture.
Dude, yeah, there's nothing like the Dilko crust, man.
Oh yeah, buddy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Wawa, could you imagine being raised without Wawa, dude? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I went back and last week I went back and I gorged like every night. I stopped by there and yeah, man. It was. I do miss that. Like we got Bucky's out here, but you got to drive a little bit out to get to it. But
Mm.
yeah, Wawa is its own entity, man.
Well, and I also think there's something else about respecting. I personally believe that once when you come from the bottom, you have a respect of every rung of the ladder.
Mhm.
And Delco taught me that. Like there is just as much respect for a CEO that there is for the guy who makes the Italian hoagie, right? At least that's my perception of Delco. It's like who cares what you do, right? As long as you treat me like if you're building but not being,
Mhm.
right, an awesome person, then who cares what you build?
Yes.
So I'm always thinking about those two lenses. Am I being and building, right? So that top, I want to be in that top right quadrant. So if we had an X and Y axis, right? Like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm building, but how am I being? And I just had this experience. And again, all thanks to my mother and where I was raised, et cetera. You and I went to a hotel last year, I think it was, right?
Hmm.
For some goal setting, right? In New
Hmm.
York. Super high end hotel. And when I just do things that my mom taught me or Delco taught me that we don't even think of, right? Like, so I got the staff cookies, right? Just because, like, that's what my mom taught me to do. Well, dude, when I go back to this hotel, it's not uncommon where the staff comes up to me like, oh my gosh, and then my family comes in and they open the door for my grandma. They say, hey Rosie, how you doing? That is a product of respecting everybody
Hmm.
and wanting to be nice and wanting to be liked because you want to be in harmony with the team. And honestly, man, I think my mom and my family and Delco specifically taught me that.
Dude, I could see that 100%, dude.
Yeah.
And Wes, before we go, I just want to ask you, man, if you had to narrow it down to one or however many things you want to mention, what is something that you're most grateful for right now?
My mother, 100%. Like, and I'm only going to say this number not as a pound my chest thing, but if maybe there's somebody else listening to this who's right starting out and they're like, "Oh, I can't get to whatever levels." I own a wealth management firm. We now manage a $500 million. My mother raised me on $9 an hour. When I started, I was a caddy at Rolling Green Country Club in Springfield. Um, I would work as a landscaper after school, and I would collect cans and sell candy bars. Like real quick on that, like because it's like, okay, how do we make more money? So I would go door to door, knock on doors, and I'd have a box of candy bars in my hand and be like, hey, you want some candy? And then they'd say no, like, and then I was like, and then I'd pull up the cans, be like, okay, great, you have any cans? And I'm like, what the fuck, like, but it worked, right?
Yeah.
So starting from that, and then to be able to say that I manage a $500 million of assets, again, nothing special about me, but because I had a mother that said, why can't you?
Hmm.
Right? Like why would you not? Okay, you don't know those people over there. Why not go over and talk to them?
Hmm.
Why would you not do that? Like what's going on in your head? So 100% grateful for my mom. No doubt. I know I owe, as I said earlier, 100% of any success that I've had so far in life, 100% to my mom.
Dude, I love hearing that. And like I mentioned earlier, your mom is a very special lady, and you recognize that within seconds of meeting her, man, how exceptional
Yeah.
she is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, final thing, yeah, if you don't mind me saying this, is like,
no, go for it.
why should it not be our obligation to change our family tree? Like, tell me
Hmm.
why it's not a nice to have. Why is it not your obligation to do so? And then treating it with that level of passion and intensity, where this is not an option, it's an obligation.
I love that, dude. Yeah, I definitely feel that, man, because no matter, where your start is or whether or not you were even given a start, it does feel, and I do feel an obligation to really reroute the course of my family tree. And I got extremely lucky with my wife, and she's the same way. It's like she is, I don't know, looking at her, there were no mentors for her. It's like she figured all of this out on her own, and like she is undoubtedly the woman that I respect the most. She's an incredible mom. It's like, she doesn't, have to work anymore, but when she worked, it's like I would go pick her up, and it was like, you know, she was clearly in charge. Like she had everything under control. And like seeing all these things where like she had no mentorship for. She just did it. She
Mm.
just did it because she had to get done. And, it's much easier for me to feel like, all right, I can change the course of my family history. I feel like I could do it on my own, but like I have that by my side. It's like, we're fucking unstoppable, man. There's nothing holding us back at this point.
Man, how special is that? And dude, honestly, thank you for saying that because it's cool to hear another man talk about his partner that way.
Hmm.
Um, I think more men need to do that. So it's awesome for me to hear those words come out of your mouth.
Hmm. And dude, it's, trust me, like I wasn't always that way. I was a complainer. I complained about what didn't get done, what wasn't happening, but it's like,
Mm.
you know, a lot changed like when I changed myself. Like when I when
Yep.
I when I looked in, it's like, all right, is she truly the problem? Is this person truly the problem? Is that thing that I've been bitching about for weeks now truly the problem? Or is there something that I could do about this shit? And it was no coincidence that once I just, zoned in on, what it is that I could change, that literally everything else in front of me changed, including the people that I thought were problematic and weren't doing shit that I felt like they should have been doing. It's like shit's fucking irrelevant for one thing, but two, it also allowed me to see, her true value. Whereas like,
Mhm.
holy shit, man, like, we're best friends now. Whereas like 5 years ago, I would have never said that. But it's the
Mm.
same person is there. She's the
Yeah,
same person, but it's through changing that, it's like, a series of light bulbs went off. And dude, I don't know, man. I just feel very grateful for my life, and I'm especially grateful for her, man, because she's as good as it gets, man.
that's awesome, buddy. I mean, I assume, so I'm going to be out there in January. Would love
Mhm.
to, if you guys are down for it, would love to take you guys out to dinner because I haven't had the
I would
pleasure
love
of
that.
really getting to know your wife at all.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I don't know. She's everything, man. And I would 100% take you up on that, man. And
Let's do
dude,
it.
anytime you want to work on goals together again, man, I'm down 100% for it.
Oh, I will set it up. Let's do it before either before the end of the year or at the very beginning of the year.
All
I'm
right.
in 100%.
All right, Wes, I can't thank you enough, man. I really I respect you. I love you, and like I said, man, you mean so much to me. And what, including me in that goal setting session that we had, for a couple years running. Like it truly changed my life, man. And I'm forever indebted to you, man. And I'm just grateful that I know you, man.
Hey, brother, right back at you. Love you too. You're super inspirational for me, buddy. Keep doing what you're doing because it pulls me forward and the rest of the guys forward too. Love you, pal.
Love you, dude. I'll see you.
All right, all right, buddy.